What's good, everybody? This episode of the podcast is sponsored by DistroKid. They are the go-to for digital music distribution and the easiest way for musicians to get their music onto Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, TikTok, YouTube, and more. They offer unlimited uploads, and artists keep 100% of their earnings, getting your music onto platforms and into stores 10 to 20 times faster than any other distributor. They help with cover song clearance, automatic splits, and they offer all kinds of tools and templates to help you get the most visibility for your releases. I dig this company and appreciate their business model that offers more features and tools than any other distributor while doing it at the most affordable price for solo artists, bands, DJs, studio artists, and any other creators that are making music or producing music in their home, and they offer label services as well. They've got 3 different tiers that they offer to creators that start as low as $22.99 a year. That's just $1.92 a month. And even their top tier is only $7.50 per month. And the best part about DistroKid sponsoring the podcast is they are offering Dan Cable Presents listeners 30% off their first year of service with DistroKid, making their affordable prices even cheaper for you. I will put that discount link in the episode notes. It will also be in my Instagram bio. Big shout out to DistroKid for sponsoring this podcast for more than 3 years now. Much appreciated. Now let's get into the episode.
Looking down at the corner
What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Dan Cable Presents podcast. Thank you for tuning into the program once again. If this is your first time listening, thanks for checking out the show. You can find fresh episodes coming at you every Tuesday. And if you want to help support this thing in a free way, you can do so by clicking subscribe on iTunes, clicking write a review, giving the podcast 5 stars if you feel like it is deserving of so. And that will help propel this thing into the tops of those iTunes charts, giving it more visibility on the national and international levels, helping strangers find the podcast, and just a great way to contribute to the growth and sustainability of this thing. Appreciate the hell out of all the folks that have already taken the time to do so. If you're not listening on Apple, just hit like, follow, subscribe wherever you are listening from. If you're watching on YouTube, you can hit subscribe there. Tell a friend about the podcast. I am recording this intro from my hotel room here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Beautiful day out here. Cool little town. Was at this music venue called Songbirds last night. Great listening room. Out on the road with Noah and Abby Gunnarsson. Noah's one of my favorite songwriters, so it's been really cool to be back out on the road with him and Abby for this past week. We've just got one more show in Asheville tomorrow, and that wraps this run of shows. But this week on the podcast, we've got Melissa McMillan, aka Chef Mel, owner and chef here at Sammich, one of the most banging sandwich shops in not just Portland, Oregon, but maybe all of the land. Home of one of the most legendary tuna sandwiches in the game. And she's not only a badass restaurant owner and chef, she's also a sports fanatic, huge Chicago Bears and Chicago Cubs fan. I grew up on Chicago sports. My dad's side of the family is from Gary, Indiana, not too far from Chicago. So I just absolutely loved when I went to Sammich for the first time. You just see all of this Chicago sports memorabilia in there, and just, you know, trying to capture some of that Chicago culture of the city. And I met Mel about a year ago. I did a review of the tuna sandwich over there at Sammich for my Tuna Boy series, and she really liked it, and she reached out and asked me if I wanted to see how the tuna was made. And I'd already been brainstorming this idea in my head to film more high production episodes of Tuna Boy, and maybe get to go to some of these places that I love and get to interview the people who own these places. And she was totally down and gave the opportunity for us to film the first ever Tuna Boy, which you can also find on this Primetime Cable YouTube channel. If you have not seen it, or if you're just listening to the audio version, go ahead, go to that Dan Cable Presents Primetime Cable YouTube channel. You can find the first episode of Tuna Boy there. It's a 10-minute short. And I would encourage you to check it out. Maybe check it out real quick before you dive into this interview, but might give you a little bit more context for this particular interview with Mel. We didn't dive too deep into the tuna, but we definitely talked some tuna sandwiches on here and some other restaurants in Portland that we both really enjoy. She's just an inspiration. I love her energy. It's just so much fun to be around. Hoping to get more opportunities to hang with her and learn from her. She's been threatening to start a podcast for a while now. So I'm hoping jumping on the mics with me maybe fuels the fire for that and really like jump starts that thing, because I think that she's really great on the mic. She's got a lot of stories, and there's so much that we didn't dive into during this conversation. And she's just really the star of that first Tuna Boy episode. So all the links for Sammich and Mel will be in the episode notes, along with the link for that Tuna Boy episode. And if you live in Portland, Oregon, please go check out Sammich. And if you're just coming to visit Portland, Oregon, don't miss out on your opportunity to go to Sammich. They just expanded their spot to have indoor seating, so they have this really great brick and mortar. They already did, and it had this outdoor patio that was covered from the rain, so you could still go there and enjoy a sandwich outside during the colder months. But now there is a proper indoor seating situation where you can go watch the Bears and the Cubs. You can go hang out with Mel inside of her spot. And just cannot say enough great things about the sandwiches over there. Immediately after this interview was done, I went over there and I got myself one of those Timbos, which is another just like legendary sandwich. And so I followed Mel over there when we were done recording this, and it was fun to just see her have to like jump right on the line. Like, it was pretty busy. We walked in right during the lunch rush, and she immediately just walked into the spot and figured out how she could support her staff members however she could to help them get through the wave of the lunch rush. So got to see it all in action, got to have this chat. Yeah, big thanks to Mel for just being cool and being down to jump on the mics with me. This is episode 438 with Melissa McMillan, a.k.a. Chef Mel. Now let's do the damn thing. Feel like you're on a radio show and hear your goofy voice.
Yeah, so is it like also to like be cool?
Is it to be cool? I don't know. I think hopefully it usually like maybe helps people know where they're at on the microphone, because like if you don't have the headphones off
and then you go like this,
and then you're not like really noticing that.
Okay.
But
I didn't know if it was like a chef like getting a nice apron kind of thing.
Is that a thing?
Like swag to it or whatever.
Is that a thing?
I mean, not for me, but like I don't know. I do have my like favorite camo barbecue apron that I think I feel pretty cool in it. So maybe that's like headphones to you guys.
Maybe some like look good, feel good shit. It like gets you in the zone.
Yeah. Like getting a new Cubs shirt and going to the game.
I never thought about the headphones as that sort of like thing. Maybe I will now. Like every time I put the headphones on, I'll like feel like it's time, you know?
Yeah, it's like game time, baby.
It's mostly like logistical though, like for me. I would say like everybody that comes on is like 50-50 on whether they want to wear them. Like I think it really like freaks some people out to hear their voice in headphones or like on a microphone.
I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm wearing them because I want to be cool.
All right. Well, you're doing it. You're already cool, Mel. You're already cool. That's why I invited you here.
Yeah, but I'm new to this podcast world, so I just see what I see on the internet, and so I'm like, okay,
How do I look like a professional?
I'm gonna put some headphones on and sit in a cool chair with a cool microphone.
Yeah, I think I don't know. It's fun. It makes you feel like you're playing radio and you can hear everything in the headphones too. Like I feel like I'm more in it instead of just like hearing the sound of the room. I guess.
Yeah, I love it. It's always been a dream of mine to be on the radio, and so with this experience, I'm halfway checking off a bucket list.
Awesome. Hell yeah.
Is that Ditko over there?
That's Ditka.
Oh, nice.
You know?
He's looking fresh.
I have to surround you with a strong spirit around here. I don't quite have as much sports memorabilia that I own around these walls, but there's some scattered in.
Well, I think you do a music podcast.
Yeah, primarily. But like, I don't know, we're spreading out. We're having, restaurant owners.
You're
chefs.
having chef restaurant sports enthusiasts on.
I think it's more fun that way. It's keep it open ended,
Yeah.
And it's like equally. I think I like wanted to do this with you because I think like what you do is equally inspiring to me as like someone making art. Like you having this, from what I perceive to be like this successful business and like a place where like you have talked about how much you can just like be you there. And yeah, to me, that's like as cool as someone making a record,
Well, thanks. And it's so interesting that you say art, because for the longest time I had the hardest time thinking I was an artist. Okay. And so just yesterday, I have a contractor that me and a fellow restaurateur are now sharing. And he says to me, Mel, I could totally tell why you and Peter are friends. He was like, you guys are just all over the place, but you have like really good ideas. And I was talking to Grandma. She does the books over there at Sammich. She's actually 42. Today's her birthday, and she's not a grandma. But the way restaurants work, the way she takes care of the shop, she's like a grandma.
Yeah.
So she's baking cookies, banana bread, making sure everybody has their paperwork all right and tight. And so yesterday I'm like, Grandma, I think I'm an artist. I've always said I'm an entrepreneur first and a chef second. And now I'm starting to think, no. And this was literally just yesterday we had this conversation. So you saying that really drives it home, because I am an artist and I'm super creative, and I think society always puts everything in a box, right?
Yeah.
So if you're an artist, you draw something, or you write something, or you make a movie, or you make music. And I know a lot of chefs think they're artists, and I kind of make fun of that side sometimes, because I feel like the tweezers and the all the bougie shit takes away from, at the end of the day, we're making food.
Yeah.
So, and we need that to live, to stay alive.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say I'm an artist, but then when I look at the interior and I look at the tables and I look at the design and then I look at how I put the plates together, I'm like, shit, I might just be an artist.
Yeah. There's definitely like a curation that is happening there, and that has to like tap into something creative within you when you're like making a menu, even if it's something as simple as sandwiches.
I think the bigger thing for me is I've never given myself the space to think that, like maybe I haven't seen myself as well as I should have, and I don't think I have. I've definitely been on like a different journey with therapy and getting my life more whole, and part of that is like seeing yourself and doing self-care and like thinking about those things. So really, just as of recently, I've started to see like the good things in me and like what makes Sammich go, what makes me go, what makes me love sports, like all of it. And it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
And it feels good to say, I'm an artist.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Did sports hit you pretty early, like in life?
Oh, yeah. I have 4 brothers, and I'm right in the middle. So right now it would go 40, 41, 42, 43, and almost 50. Sorry, Stretch. And so my whole life was sports. That's all I ever did. And I was really good at it.
Yeah.
I loved it. And I'm also learning on my journey that sports it's one of the safest things you can do, because once you walk on the field or the court, so you could grow up in chaos and have a wild childhood, or have some trauma in your childhood or whatnot, and you can go to the baseball field. Nobody can change that there's 3 strikes to an out.
Yeah.
Nobody can change that there's 4 balls. Nobody can change that there's 9 innings.
Yeah.
And it's so structured. And I crave that. In sports, I crave that. I crave competition. I crave being the better or at the top of the tier of whatever I'm doing. I just got into a car accident. I'm doing physical therapy, and I fucking sucked on the first day of physical therapy. And the guy goes, well, how you feeling? The doctor goes, well, how'd you feel about it today? And I said, demoralized. And then he asked me again. I said, why do we got to talk about this again? I just said I felt demoralized. Like, we're going to make me repeat? Like, the coach in me is like, please don't make me say it again. You're just going to double down on the feeling. And I went home and just kept doing my exercises because I didn't want to go back the next day and suck.
Yeah.
And I want to get stronger. And I think that competition and the athlete in me has been there since the beginning of time.
Yeah. Sports does have like that way of showing you that practice helps you improve too. Like, it's very like
completely.
It's very easy to see it. It's like, oh, if I go stand in the box and like, you know,
take 150 swings. I mean, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, both perfect examples of what hard work does. Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, I mean, they all weren't supposed to be great. And I grew up watching the greatest athlete of all time play. And if you follow Jordan mentality, I mean, it's pretty hard to not see how that path works out.
Yeah.
Like, nobody worked harder than him.
Yeah.
And nobody admitted to all the failures that, like, Michael Jordan talks about how many game buzzer beaters he didn't get.
Yeah, those are the ones that haunt him.
Yeah, and those are the ones who make him go back to practice more.
Yeah.
Like, and that in my opinion, like for chefs, and I think that's the perfect thing for the reason why it correlates for me and sports is yes, you can go to college and you can get a culinary degree. Sure. You can also play sports all the way through college and then go to the pros, maybe if you're lucky, probably not. But what both you can do in both those fields is just practice more outside of the organization of it, and you don't have to go to culinary school. And you certainly, sports, I think, is something cool about that too, is you don't have to have a lot of money to be good at it. You see the athletes that are really good at it that don't have money, they're hitting beer caps with baseball bats.
Yeah.
Like, that's their batting practice. So in my dream world, yes, it would be more economically fair, but that is what I like about sports, because I didn't grow up with a lot of money. I didn't grow up with a lot of... I know what goulash is, okay? You know what goulash is, you know. All right? So, but like hard work and determination, I have no idea what it's like to have 5 kids in the 90s. I can't think it was cheap. So I'm not ungrateful, but I know my dad is watching over, happy that I have more for myself than I did before.
Yeah.
But that's because he taught me how to work hard. And sports, I mean, in my opinion, when I interview people, I ask if they played organized sports.
Yeah.
Because that's a game changer.
Yeah. Especially team sports.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you learn accountability, and you learn like that, like the way you want to lift people up around you. Like, especially if you take on like some of those like leadership roles, which seems like that's in you, obviously, you know, a coach, a leader of your business.
It is. It also teaches that you really can't do anything by yourself. I'm really press upon the crew learning how to ask for help too, because if you can learn how to ask for help in your professional life, the ability to do it in your personal life could just get easier and easier, and the more practice you have doing it. And I preach that now, and I know my boys on the baseball teams certainly know that they're not winning that game by themselves.
Yeah.
And self-awareness and knowing, shit, I had one baseball team. They were 12 years old. We went 17-1. I didn't pick the starting pitcher once the entire season because my preseason was so good, and they could help each other, and they knew who was the best, and they knew how they were going to win.
Yeah.
And then they want their buddies to be the starting pitcher too. So how do you think that correlates into practice? But when you got 13 kids who all say Jose should start or Ty's starting this game, and that's how you do the entire season. I did my job before the season started. Like, and how epic for those kids to have that experience at 12 years old. Like, oh yeah, we picked.
Yeah. And it's like undeniable to them who that person is.
Yeah.
And they can all
it's
see
always
it.
different.
Yeah.
And I think if people give people more of a chance, you'll see that there's actually more good people than bad. The bad just stick out so much.
Yeah.
And if you let them make some decisions on their own, really good things can happen.
The ones that are the bad seeds?
No, the good seeds. I think the bad seeds make it so we sometimes take too much control over. Yeah. And especially for me, I specialize in youth sports, right? So and I typically am not the coaching a child of my own or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's so neutral, whereas a lot of times you'll see parents are doing what's best for like one or two kids. And it's like, bro, we need these people to contribute in society down the road. Let's show them what's real now, not, well, we have the chance, not later.
Are you pretty quick at the like at Sammich when you have a new employee to like let them explore ideas, or is there like a certain point where you like where that trust is built and you're like, all right, you can go ahead and try this thing?
It's a good question. I would say what I ask is learn the playbook first.
Yeah.
Learn my recipes, how we do it here, how we execute. And I really push for a 2-week almost, and I mean this in the kindest way, shut the fuck up, learn the system. And then I am begging for ideas after that.
Yeah.
Because I have learned so much from so many different cooks of all skill set, and everybody has something to contribute. Like, everybody does. So, yeah, I'm kind of a freak in the beginning while you're learning the system. If I see that you can make the sandwiches right, you're toasting the bread right, you're using your time efficiently in between the downtime, oh yeah, I'll let some people go off to the races.
Yeah.
But I am quite particular about, I mean, when I coach baseball, they're 12-year-old boys, and I'm calling every single pitch of the game. Like, so I know I am a little bit, I know I'm a control freak at some level.
Yeah.
I mean, I think somebody has to be in charge.
Yeah. It's just like finding the balance.
Yeah.
When to be the control freak.
Yeah. And that's hard too.
Yeah. 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 But there is, I have restaurant management experience, and there is like nothing worse than, you know, hiring some new person and they just immediately are like, why don't you do it this way? And I don't understand why you're doing this. It's like, just like you said, like, how about you learn the playbook first?
Yeah.
And then maybe we can talk about your suggestions when it's appropriate to do so.
Yeah, that will that like stresses me out, and I'm really clear about it in the interview process. And like one of my favorite interview questions is, what kind of shortcuts do you take in the weeds? And for people out there that don't know what in the weeds is, it means the ticket rail is full, the line is down, and there's so many people waiting to order. And my favorite thing, sometimes people will tell me like 5 shortcuts they're going to take, and they're ready for them. I'm like, all right, well, thank you for your time. I appreciate your time, and you'll be hearing from me. And immediately, interview ends. And then there's the people who are like, well, you know, I just like to take a deep breath and do maybe 5 tickets at a time. I'm like, when do you want to stash? Yeah, I'm like, man, I always try and remind people, like, we're not curing cancer, we're making food.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that's definitely a helpful reminder when you are in the weeds like that, of like, hey, we're just making sandwiches. Like, I do think the best thing right now is like maybe take a breath or just gather yourself, maintain composure. Has it always been easy for you to maintain composure when you're in the weeds?
No. I'm 42 now, though, so, you know. No. And I would argue that I wouldn't argue. I would say that I definitely had a shorter temper before. Being younger in the restaurant industry, probably partied too hard, and when you do that and then have to go into work the next day, you're not your best self, for sure. And so also, everybody has their demons and everybody has their problems. I definitely had to learn how to express my emotion in a better way and not get defensive. But the industry I picked and the career path I took, there wasn't a lot of women in that industry, especially running the show. So that automatically made me defensive. So learning how to block that out and not be, and I think I've come so far comparatively, and would argue I'm pretty chill. I am firm on certain things like a clean station and a clean kitchen, but I leave a lot of leeway. I think that the pretentious chef, like typical kitchen, that kind of crumbling, really also helped people like me, because I never really treated people bad. I might have had a short temper sometimes, but that was acceptable. And so for me, it wasn't an adjustment.
Yeah.
And now I would argue that I'm seeing much more. And I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, I was kind of bitchy sometimes.
There's maybe similar to, how chefs can be in the kitchen and be like grumpy and maybe a little angry. And,
Yeah.
There is this in the music world, the sound engineers are that person often. Like when you come across nice ones, you're always like a little surprised.
You're like, why are you so
You're
nice?
like, oh, cool. You're not just immediately going to be an asshole to start this off because you're upset that you have to plug in all these cables to make the sound go at the show.
It was probably a stressful job.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
But yeah, I can see how. So it sounds like a nice sound person is like a nice chef.
Yeah.
Glorious.
Yes. Yeah, where you're like, oh yeah, you still like doing this. Like you enjoy your job. It doesn't seem like you hate being here.
That's awesome.
Where do you think you developed your chill? Like as far as, or like were able to maybe level out the temper and be better with levelness or just like your approach to talking to people within the kitchen?
Well, quite honestly, you're getting like the secret info.
Yeah, I'm trying. We're trying to create teasers for your podcast, Mel.
Well, quite honestly, the chill more started about process probably really started to get good about 6 years ago. My previous relationship I was in, I was grateful to be able to, whether the circumstances were good or bad, either way, I was grateful for the fact that I did a lot of therapy, and I did a lot of trauma-based therapy, and for young adults, kids, and for families. And it really changed my life. And when I say, you'll read these companies who say like, trauma-informed. We did trauma-informed training. Bullshit. You were there for like 4 hours or you read some slides on the fucking internet, okay? No, I'm talking about like over 10,000 hours of it and learning like what's truly important. And I will say it really hit ahead too this past year when I lost my mentor and friend who was a chef in Portland that I love dearly, and she told me I was working too hard and working too much.
That's Naomi.
Yeah, Naomi. And so when Naomi passed away and I was going through my divorce, I was like, I had a food cart in Seattle. I was crushing it. I mean, the best opening first year I've had, it was a food cart, dog. Like, it was better than my first year of both my restaurants. And I still have those, one in Ashland and the one here. And I couldn't keep driving like that. I couldn't keep working like that. And that probably would have gotten me into retirement and definitely helped pay back all the money I lost in my divorce, for sure. But, like, if I wasn't going to be here to do it, what was the point?
Yeah.
And, so I downsized. In some ways I say I downsized, and in other ways I totally didn't, because I downsized the amount of locations, but I also made my Portland location way bigger.
Yeah.
So I think all of those things, I've been through a lot of shit in my life, and somehow I still have 2 successful businesses that I love going to. And I think just learning how to appreciate that. I'm terrible at self-care. And I would say in the last year it's been the best I've ever done with it. So you're catching me at an interesting time, because this is the most chill I've ever been. And I mean, I got a massage last night at 7:30 and it was awesome. And I need to keep doing that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Does it feel good to slow down a little bit?
Yeah. And to like sit and be quiet. Like, imagine growing up with 4 brothers, a chaotic household, always playing sports, owning restaurants, like how impossible it would be to sit and do nothing. And I am just now learning how to do that. And it feels pretty good. Sometimes it's a little bit scary and sometimes it's a little bit lonely, but gosh, it certainly does feel really good. And learning how to, I'm a survivor and I fight or flight, I'm fighting.
Yeah.
So like, and like for the restaurants during COVID, I fucking crushed. Like, I battled. Like, our team kicked ass. Snowstorm, always open.
Yeah.
Like, adversity is my wheelhouse, and chaos I can crush. Now I want to learn how to crush normalcy.
Yeah, just that level.
Yeah.
And that be okay and not feel like
Yeah.
something has to be on fire or something has to be so low for you to like feel good about it or
Yeah.
feel bad about it.
And it's been uncomfortable, but I think it's really starting to feel really good.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure it's just like going to make you better
Totally.
at everything you're doing.
Yeah.
But it's like this weird thing because you're like maybe slowing it down a little bit, maybe dialing it back while you feel like you're like, but all I've done is like go, 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 go.
For real. And I think it's going to be great.
Hell yeah.
I'm really excited. I'm really excited about it. I drive to work every day with a smoothie now.
Hey,
Like,
look at that.
it's like a restaurant person eating 2 meals a day is like a miracle. And you're like surrounded by food.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice that you have the space now too. The indoor Portland space.
Oh my gosh, it's
You
so
know?
much better. You can eat inside. You can have a meeting inside. You can be warm while you're eating Italian beef.
I mean, I'll be cold and eat the Italian beef. I'll sit outside in the rain if I need to. But it is nice.
I know, but now
that
we
you
don't
have
have
like this
to.
comfy space, and you can have the Bears and the Cubs on, and people can come through and check it out. And
We just became the first official Bears bar in the Pacific Northwest. We're the only one in Oregon. I think we're the only one in Oregon and Washington.
how do you become the official?
Whoa. It is a official Bears bar. It's not the official Bears bar.
What do you think the principles are about being a Bears bar?
Well,
What are the rules? The hard rules, Mel.
I don't know what the hard rules are because I'm going to be honest. Summer, my marketing gal, I told her I wanted to be that
Yeah.
because I went to this bar in LA called Tiny's,
Yeah.
and they're official Bears bar, and I was telling him about Sammich, and he was like, you can sign up, and so you fill out the application, and you got to talk about like why you like the Bears, how long you've been a Bears fan, like did you go to Bears games, like what kind of shit's up in your shop. I'm sure signing up to be a official Bears bar somehow gets you in trouble with the cable companies, because then you're on a list. But again, I'm from Chicago, so we'll do it the way we want for as long as we can. But yeah, it's and I'm pretty excited about it.
Hell yeah. I'm excited about it. When I first moved to Portland, I used to go to the Buffalo Gap to watch the Buffalo Gap Saloon in John's Landing on the west side.
How long ago was that? It could be before my time.
It was like, I don't know, 11. I moved here like 12 years ago.
Yeah, then
And I probably went there, I don't know, the first few years, as long as I could take it. But they would play the Bears every Sunday upstairs, and it was kind of like a Bears hang.
yeah.
But it just like, I don't know, Mel. I feel like I could sit and watch a game with you, but when there's 30 dudes like yelling about how like dog shit the team is, it just becomes a bit much for me every Sunday,
Somehow I can always stay positive about the Bears. I don't know. I feel like I think the love for the Cubs perhaps gives the Bears a lot of grace in my life.
Yeah. I don't mind watching the Bears be bad. It's watching the Bears be bad with a room full of like drunk dudes
suck.
and like
Yeah.
like I don't know. There's just like something about I don't think it upsets me enough to be on their level, where like it's not gonna like ruin my day probably.
Yeah, you're not
The way
going to
it
go beat your
ruined
wife.
my dad's son. Like I woke up so many Sunday mornings to my dad yelling at the TV because of the Bears.
Yeah. And
Just pissed.
yeah, and you're like,
And I'm
bro.
just like, this is psychotic.
Yeah, I think definitely watching the Bears at Sammich is different than that vibe. Although I am going to get a shit or a fuck or a hoo-ha if something good happens.
Absolutely. Yeah. I need that. I want that.
But yeah, I'm like, yeah. What do you think about the Super Bowl options this year?
The Super Bowl options. I don't know. I've honestly like my feelings towards football have kind of like fallen off a bit.
Yeah.
Like it's somehow become not that exciting for me to like watch. I feel like it's so slow with all of the stoppages that it like bothers me.
So do you like that baseball got sped up?
Yeah. Even though I thought at first I was like, this is kind of like a trash rule. I think I used to like really appreciate maybe the mental games that could go down at an at bat that didn't have a time clock. But now it's like I feel like it's forcing a different kind of creativity, or like people have to adapt to this new thing that is like going to make it a mental game in some way. And you got like the pitchers that are just like getting the ball and throwing it real quick, like
Yeah.
no time. But I do think it's pretty sweet that baseball games are like 2.5 hours now.
I like it a lot. And I also miss that they're sometimes 3.5 hours. I'm not going to lie, for sure. But what about, how do you think somebody like Greg Maddux would do in the new program?
It's an interesting thing. I don't know.
I think he would do good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's calling all of his own pitches anyway.
Yeah. He doesn't have to wait
Yeah,
for
he's not
anything to
gonna.
happen.
He's not waiting for the report, reading the gadgets. I mean, they got a lot of gadgets up in there. Nowadays, it's not like it used to be.
Yeah.
They have like armbands, earpieces,
Yeah. It's crazy.
and the catcher's got all these relaying information tools.
Where are you at on the umpires? Do you want to see them go?
It's so hard. I don't like bad umpires,
Yeah.
and I don't like computers.
That's a tough place to be.
So kind of tough to decide. I think baseball needs an umpire, human.
At all
All of,
areas, like strike zone, calling safe or out.
yes.
Yeah. I think I like mostly agree with you. I do think it's like pretty irritating for everybody to like be watching on TV and be able to see a ball outside of the strike zone or inside of the strike zone that gets called wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's like so clear, you know? There's like no.
I know it's so hard. I think what's going to happen is they're going to have base umpires are going to call the plays at the bases. I think a home plate umpire is going to hear if it's a ball or a strike, and then we'll call the plays at the plate.
Yeah.
I think that technology would ruin the game as far as the safe and the outs. I don't think it's going to change anything for, except for I think it will be harder for pitchers to strike people out because it will be so accurate.
Yeah.
And I think that hitters are going to bank on the fact that it is so accurate. So they're going to dial into that box, right? So I think we're going to see more walks. I think we'll see less home runs until there's a few years of adaptability into it. But I don't think you can go without that call at the plate. And
Yeah.
I think technology, like to do an instant replay of a play, it takes too long. So
Yeah.
if that's what your standard was every time, you'd have to do it that way. And ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah. Unless it's like some automatic censored thing for like balls and strikes.
Well, that I think they can do.
Yeah. But like, yeah. That has been, I think, the bummer of like all sports in the modern era is like it's cool that we have all these different angles of replay to like get calls right, hopefully, but it slows shit down so much, especially when it's like something so like, you know, something that's not so black and white can take like 5 minutes to make a correct call.
Yeah, so I think that would be impossible that they use technology on the anything other than balls and strikes, or when you get your 1 or 2 challenges.
Yeah.
That's my guess. But what do I mean?
And the human element of it is pretty fun to like.
Yeah, who are you going to kick dirt at?
Yeah, or just an umpire that, you know, people know they can get a little bit more on this corner with this guy.
Yeah.
You know,
or
and people play to that. And
yeah, like, oh yeah, this umpire really gives you the outside corner. Like,
yeah.
And to, one, have the skill set to know that is what that umpire gives you, and then 2, to be able to hit that spot. Like, all that takes talent, so it should be rewarded.
How do you feel about this runner on second business for extra innings?
that one's rough for me, but it's fair for everybody, and I am a firm believer in small ball. I've made grown men cry having my team bunt the entire game.
Yeah.
6 innings. My kids pissed me off the game before. I said, you guys can't get your bunts down. I said, the next game, all we're doing is bunting. And they didn't believe me. And my bunt sign is kid. So every time somebody's up to bat, and then my steal sign is look alive. So for 6 innings, 6 half innings, all my kids heard were, look alive, kid, look alive, kid. So bunt, steal, bunt, steal, bunt, steal. And I think the end score was 26-1. It was probably one of my favorite games I've ever coached. And I can tell you that those kids didn't miss the bunt sign ever again, because that's what gets them into these situations. If they don't pick up the bunt sign on the game before,
Yeah.
or they miss their sign, it's like, well, apparently you guys need to learn the sign, so we're just going to do it the entire game. And as much as all the kids want to hit home runs, you could tell they also had a very good time that game.
Yeah.
And the coach on the other team was like, when are you going to stop this? And I was like, I'm not. They screwed up last game. This is what we're doing.
Is that how you approach things in the kitchen too? When people mess up, you're like, well, I guess you're chopping onions all day until you figure it out.
No, I try and teach them differently. I do make jokes sometimes over the years. If I talk to the staff like I talk to my baseball players, probably wouldn't end well.
Yeah. You can try it.
No. Yeah, they'd be like kids do something, I'm like, flagpole, or my favorite is when we'll go to like a field that's maybe less nice than ours.
Yeah.
And first of all, they should just be happy that they're playing on a field, not complaining about how ours is bougier. And then, like, a ground ball will, like, bump up or hit a rock, and they'll miss it. And they'll be like, Coach, it's because of the rocks on the field. Oh, okay. Timeout. You have 5 minutes to pick up all the rocks you want.
You got to teach those kids how to crush in chaos. Like you.
I mean,
Yeah.
well, like, you can't. It's like, I got this cook at the shop now. His name's Debonair. He's a sweet baby angel, and he wants us to all go bowling with him one night. So he rallies up the crew. He's talking so much shit before we go bowling, and he's 18 and I'm 42, and I'm thinking this kid's gonna smoke me out there,
Yeah.
right? No, not even close. And to make matters worse, he's saying that the alley isn't waxed appropriately. I said, Deb, I told him that baseball rock story. I said, bro, I'm going to kick your ass on any bowling alley we go to because you suck at it. And you try to talk shit that you were good.
You got to love that. Somebody that like talks so much shit and then you just go and
then
wax them.
Smoke them.
Yeah.
He tries to say he's really good at basketball, so he had 2 days off at the shop, and we got a Nerf hoop for the shop. I made sure it was installed on his days off so I could practice, because it all depends on the ball and the hoop. Every Nerf one is like different, and once you get the sweet spot, once you learn the ball and learn the hoop, it's done, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to get 2 days ahead of Deb.
Putting in work outside of practice.
Yeah, I'm going to whoop his ass. He thinks horse isn't a game. I'm like, bro, anything that has a score and a win or a lose is a game.
Yeah.
So I'm going to whoop his ass.
What do you think you like about like competitiveness, or Just even something as small as that, where you're like, oh, I'm gonna be the best at this. I'm gonna put in 2 days before, you know.
I mean, I hate losing, but probably not to keep bringing up a constant theme too, but let's be honest, somebody who's super competitive and always wants to win too probably had some fucking trauma back in the day, and it's an easy way to be seen, and you can't negotiate with it. The facts are right there. Sports, it's numbers. You win or you lose. You get what you get. So I mean, part of it's that. Part of it is eager. Part of it's how I was raised. Part of it's my genetics. Like, my two grandpas, both entrepreneurs. My uncle, entrepreneur. My little brother, entrepreneur. My big brother now, entrepreneur. Me, entrepreneur. Like, so also that's just like your DNA and how you were made. Like, so I think we're all competitive. How do you have 4 kids, boom, 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 in a row? And obviously Lee was the age gap, but sometimes there was all 4 of us on one team. You think the McMillans wanted to lose? Because essentially you have half the team. You're related to half the team.
Yeah.
So, like, no, we're going to let the family name down? Like, no, let's go out there and kick some ass. So I think that's probably a big part of it too.
Yeah.
So a combination of everything. And then also, how do you, for me, right, 4 brothers, chef, restaurant owner, I'm picking all the jobs that a lot of women don't have or aren't in that field. And so it's always going to be harder for me to win. So if I can win undisputedly, why then isn't that way better?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I think somebody asked me the other day if I was like how I did when I was a kid in sports. I'm like, well, I always played with the boys, and I was always picked first or second.
Yeah, go to Sammich. You can see those articles written about Melissa McMillan on the wall. You know, stud baseball player right here.
But yeah, and I lived for it. I mean, I played travel baseball. I had my baseball boyfriends. Yeah, it was, and like my baseball teams when I was a kid, like, oh man, they always stuck up for me too. Like, especially after, the more seasons you play, we'd go to a different city, and I was the catcher, okay, on an all boys team. I had this pitcher, his name was Forrest Roth. That motherfucker had tree trunks for legs and threw the ball like 80 at 12 years old. Nobody would catch for him but me. And my catcher's mitt by the end of the season, I mean, that web was ripped out. Not that long ago, the other day, I had this guy come into Sammich, and he goes, are you Melissa, the baseball player? And I said, yeah. And he said, you used to catch for my friend. Nobody could. He didn't even have to finish. I said, Forrest Roth.
That's crazy.
And him and Forrest are pilots. And, but yeah, I'd go to a different city, and I'd be up to bat, and they'd be like, oh, that girl's up again. Move up. And the guys on the team would be like, yeah, move up.
Yeah.
Adios, amigo. Yeah.
Dude, catcher? That's crazy shit to me. I grew up playing ice hockey goalie.
Oh,
and but every time I don't know, once I started playing goalie, I was still like playing a little league baseball up until like 12, and then I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. I only wanted to play hockey. But once people found out that I played goalie, they'd always be like, oh, you should play catcher.
Yeah. That
scared the shit out of me. Like, even catching in between innings, like while the catcher was getting their shit on, I did not want to be that person. For as much as I'll let people fire pucks at me, at 80, 90 miles an hour, I do not want to be the catcher. Like there's something about that ball coming in and just trying to catch it with the mitt that always like it frightened me.
You know, you'd be surprised how many hockey goalies are catchers, but yes, I hear you there. But I mean, everything you've heard me say today, like you're in control of the whole game. You see everything on the field. Like my peripheral vision is insane, and I owe that to being a catcher. And you touch the ball every play.
Yeah.
And if you look at the MLB history, some of the best coaches of all times were catchers.
Because they were always calling the game in some way. And
always there and always could see.
I wonder if that translates to trying to think of like NHL head coaches that are goalies. There's a few. But I do feel like I've always felt that way about playing goalie is like you get a much different view of the game because you're always looking at it this way.
Yeah, and you can see...
You're seeing everything happen in front of you. And now I'm like skating out a little bit and trying that. And I always thought I would be like, oh, I'm going to be such a good defenseman because I know what like I want in front of me. And it doesn't just translate that way because you're like, oh, well, I have to look at the ice at so many different angles now because sometimes I'm skating this way and sometimes I'm skating this way. It's not like everything is just happening in front of me.
And how much practice have you had doing that outside of what your regular practice is, right?
Instead of growing up playing goalie 3 times a week, you know?
Yeah. So, yeah, but, oh, man, catching is just a thrill.
Did you always have a lot of coaches you looked up to as a kid that made you want to coach? Like, did you always think that you would end up in some sort of coaching role?
Honestly, my dad, he was the best. And he was coaching baseball I was playing in the 90s, right? You could still smoke a cig over at third base. He'd have his pager, coffee cup, cig. And then, obviously late 90s, that had to stop. But he was such a fun coach. He was so magnetic. Like, everybody wanted to be on Mickey's team, and he would fucking rail grounders at you. Like, you knew if you were on Mick's team, like, you were getting fucking really good practice. Epic pep talks. Like, pep talks you wouldn't be allowed to give now.
Yeah.
But it was what we needed then.
Yeah, those movie moments.
Oh, yeah, like, I just got a message not that long ago from another stud pitcher we had, Chris Hamilton, back in the day, and we grew up in a area north of Chicago where there was like Knollwood, Lake Bluff, and then Lake Forest. And Lake Forest, they had way more money than us. It was, what do you call it? Generational wealth for sure. Like, not a lot of young people working hard to get what they want. Like, grandma and grandpa already had it, so they were already in this. But everybody played sports when they were kids, and Chris Hamilton was on the mound, and he was kind of sucking, and so we were the kids who came from the other side of the tracks. And he tells me my dad goes up there and he says, "You think any of these little bitches have any idea what it's like to be hungry? Go out there and get it done." And it was like, dig deep, boy.
Yeah.
And like, truthfully, sometimes I would argue it's kind of a shame we can't still teach like that. But there's so many other ways too but oh man. And he would pick the whole team up in his Suburban, and he was like, when we were kids, he like got the first CD player, so we were like driving to practice listening to Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. And I mean, it was so cool. But also, he really like taught me, and I really use this throughout my whole life. Like baseball, you're in the Hall of Fame if you are a legend in the Hall of Fame if 3 out of 10 times you get up to bat, you get on base.
Yeah.
So that means you have to be okay with failing 70% of the time. Like, what crazy numbers, right? So you suck more than you're actually good, and that means you're really good. That's in layman's terms, right? So, but for me, he really spent the time explaining, like, it's how you get back up. It's like, welcome to life.
Yeah.
You're going to lose your job. You're going to have a breakup. You're going to have an emergency. You're going to get into an accident. You're going to run out of gas. Like, shit's going to happen. Like, how are you going to... You're going to get into a fight with a friend.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to fix it, or how are you going to get back up, or how are you going to make it work? And yeah, so I am the 2000s version of coaching as my dad. I take it more seriously, and I'm more into the fundamentals. Like, how can you get mad at a parent for volunteering their time? You can't. And he, like, seriously taught us so much stuff. But I've definitely taken it to the next level. I believe that kids at this age are sponges. And so I teach them like an MLB player would be taught. And the beauty of it is before they've met girls, drugs, or booze. So there's not any distractions.
Yeah.
And it's the purest form of the game.
Yeah.
And now my big brother, he's coaching his son, and we call each other all the time, and he's always asking me about drills and what to do and what do I think. And I'm going down to Austin in a few weeks to coach a baseball clinic down there. And so, like, how cool is that? My brother is coaching in Austin. He's been coaching his kid for like 2 or 3 years. This is Texas.
Yeah.
Okay? And I'm going down there to coach a clinic. Like, it's 2024. And we're going to Texas.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, how crazy. And when he had his first season, I was like, are you going to tell those assistant coaches of yours, like, who's helping you and who's giving you all the juice? He's like, I think I'm going to wait till the end of the season. And I get it. I get why he had to wait. But clearly it doesn't matter. But that's the point. Like, all these things, part of the reason why I'm so competitive too is imagine showing up to the baseball field with 12 boys and you're the coach. Like, everybody's like, oh, we're going to kick her ass.
Yeah. Yeah. Little do they know. Little do they know who they're fucking with.
Also, it's like the drive to want to. But I am so obsessed with the mind game of baseball too.
Yeah.
Like, obsessed, and how I think it correlates with real life is, and it's also like how I self-soothe sports.
Yeah. You think it's like if you're just watching, do you feel like it's like this form of escapism for you?
Yeah. If I'm having a hard day or a hard week, I'm going to figure out how to watch a game because, again, I can check out completely and get engrossed in the game, like, so into it. Like, and then there's rules, and nobody can change them.
Yeah.
And it's going to be what it's going to be. Like, when I first when I started going through my divorce, Morgan Weaver was going to Sammich, and she plays for the Thorns, and she's a stud muffin. And I had seen that she had been there, but we had never met or anything. So, of course, I'm like DMing her, like, dude, you got to tell me when you're there next, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like a super fan. And anyway, we end up hitting it off, and we become friends. Me and her boyfriend get along. It's like all this awesome stuff. And I'm going to Thorns games. Like I'd been to a few soccer games here, but never. And I mean, I went to like 7 in a row.
Yeah.
And it really got me through a hard part of my life between that and then Naomi. Like, here was this young, awesome soccer player who was reaching out to, and I told her what I was going through. I was like, dude, you gave me, and sports does that for me.
Yeah.
Like, I can see why it's so important that athletes go and do like the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and why they do nice things for people. Or I bet you like it's no secret how much I like Taylor Swift. And it's so obvious. Like, I guarantee that one visit, I know what a visit does for me. Like, whoa, like life-changing.
Yeah.
And like that kid gets to either get the strength to, if they are lucky enough and there's something that can save them, then they're leaning on that. And then also the other side of it is like going out with so much joy. Like, I'm a crybaby when I see the athletes do nice things for kids and stuff. It really just, yeah. It's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be needing the tissue box, like watching like sports players make their Hall of Fame speeches, or just like any of that shit, or just like watching a team win. I don't care who wins the Stanley Cup. Like, watching that celebration is like, will either bring me to tears or nearly every time. Like, no matter what team, even if it's a team I hate, I'm just like watching these.
I have chills right now, like you
like,
saying it.
Or, you know, just even when you were talking about how transformative it can be to like step on the field. I think that can be like when you're attending, like when you make that walk up the stairs and like finally can see the field, especially a baseball field. I think like a MLB stadium, because they're all so different, which I think is like the special thing about baseball, is that the actual field, it's like unlike any other sport where the actual field is different and the dimensions are maybe like a little bit different. Like, it's so rad when you walk out and you like see that field for the first time and you're like, oh, I'm here. Like, I'm in this world for these 3 hours.
Yeah, it's really special.
Yeah, it's rad.
Like Wrigley Field.
Yeah, dude.
Seriously, I could be in Wrigley Field and not have a care in the world.
Yeah. I got to go to my first night game this year there. I'd only been to day games.
Nice.
That was pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. It's different. I can't decide what I like better. I think it's day games.
Yeah, definitely.
But like night games are pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And if you had too much fun, you could go to the Wiener Circle after the game and get yelled at while you're getting a hot dog. Can't do that in the daytime because they won't yell at you in the daytime. They'll only yell at you at the nighttime.
How did the entrepreneur become the chef?
Well, this is funny. So I've been married twice now, and so I'm so embarrassed to say this. My first ex-wife, not about the person, just that I have 2 ex-wives.
You still have a third strike.
Amen, brother. Very good. Very good. So my first ex-wife and I opened Sammich together. She was a chef. I was not.
Was Pastrami Zombie
No,
the thing
Sammich was
okay,
first.
Okay.
Sammich started in Ashland,
Okay.
and Sammich started basically because I really wanted to have a restaurant. I was coaching baseball. It was a seasonal town. She had a chef job in town, so she had like a full-time job. I was a bartender, front of the house, working in restaurants, doing some sales on the side, and I'd always wanted to own a restaurant. My uncle had owned like 10 restaurants in Ashland at one time. When I moved out there for the summer, I was just there for supposedly a few months. Well, I fell in love with Ashland. I never left. Started coaching baseball. Then I fell in love, and she was a chef. We wanted to open a restaurant. I needed a full-time job because we were considering moving because it was such a seasonal town. And we opened Sammich, and she was a chef, and I was the front, and I did all the like back end stuff and all the admin stuff, and I was also the primary meat smoker because that was my thing. Well, on the year anniversary of Sammich, you're gonna die. On the year anniversary of Sammich, she tells me that she's not gay anymore. Well, really, she was banging the line cook. And she was banging the line cook. So that was really hard because the line cook was my best friend, and they were banging in the house like that I was asleep in too.
Yeah.
So like the affair didn't just happen like at Sammich, it happened like at my house while I was sleeping, okay?
Yeah.
Well, whoa, did I go through a fucking real big mental devastated. I had been with this person for 9-10 years, and then this had happened.
Yeah,
and
you
it
have
was
like a business together.
Yeah,
and
and
build
like
your whole life around this thing.
all this stuff, and we had been together 8 years for the 8 years prior that we'd even opened Sammich. So I had never thought that. And then I remember one time, you know how line cooks move on the line and all that. I remember one time watching how she touched his butt, and I was like, this is weird. Like, what is going on? And so sometimes I don't always ask the questions because I was afraid of the answers, right?
Yeah.
Or I wouldn't say what I needed because I was afraid of the answers. Well, somehow I wasn't afraid at that time, and I asked, and well, sure enough, we were getting a divorce, and fuck, I didn't know. And in our original agreement, she was supposed to be at Sammich and help me train the chef for like a month, okay? The line at Sammich is like from me to you, not very far. And here I'm standing next to this lady who probably fucked this guy, but I wasn't sure yet, and then also told me she wasn't gay anymore. And I'm like, sitting at the register, somebody's like, can I get a Timbo? I'm like, typing it. I'm like, singing this song. I'm dying inside, and nobody knows it but me. Just punching away. And Ashland's such a small town, and we were such a big, I mean, everybody knows me because I've coached everybody's kids, and my uncle was very popular, and I'm loud, and here's this really cool lesbian couple that, I mean, everybody fucking knew us. But luckily, when I was going through the breakup, nobody would say anything to me at Sammich. Not a word. But outside of Sammich, oh my God, a million questions. So all I could do was go to Sammich and go home.
Yeah.
I ended up having to hire somebody to go to the grocery store for me because I was so fucked up. And I'm sitting there working, and I'm supposed to be working with this lady for a month, and I'm like, fuck that. I cannot do this. And so I just started teaching myself how to cook while I was waiting for her to get out of there. And as soon as I knew how to do it, I was getting her out of there. Well, I learned how to make everything on the menu that I didn't, because I did all the meat smoking. So all the pastrami and all that, that was mine. I already knew how to do it. So I learned how to do all that. I was up till 2, 4 in the morning. I was roasting meat at my house. I was slicing cheese at like 2 in the morning. I mean, it was nuts. And I figured it out, and I was like, okay, go. You're gone. So all I did was go to Sammich and go home. And probably for like 8 months. But you want to know who won the Stanley Cup that year? The Blackhawks. So they saved my life because when I went home, I had 3 weeks, 1 week of like the end of the season, then 2 to 3 weeks of playoffs, and then the week of the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
So like that 6 weeks like really got me like back. And like, but I am not joking. It was such a small town and everybody fucking knew me that I couldn't handle another person asking me like what happened. And somehow people respected it at the restaurant.
Yeah.
Now here, since my last divorce, not one person has said something to me at work, except for my ex-wife's friend. That's it. The only person was her. And everybody was just like, whoa. Like, talk about lack of boundaries, right? Like, there was 2 kids involved in this last relationship that I spent 6 years with that I get to see, like, I never know.
Yeah.
And so, like, I went through a divorce and I lost 2 kids out of the deal, and I get to see them, like, when it works out, you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, pretty hard, but that's how I learned how to be a chef.
You feel like in sandwiches were maybe like this accessible?
No, I'd already been doing
thing?
sandwiches. But the way we make our sandwiches is so high end and so from scratch. Like, it's the closest thing. Like, I could go cook in any restaurant in America or in the world right now and not be afraid. Now, did I gain a lot of skills over the years? Yes. I mean, my mentor and hero is Naomi Pomeroy. My best friend in Portland is Peter Cho. Like, I started hanging out right away when I got here with Rick Gincarelli. Like, so Rick taught me how to cook lobsters. Naomi taught me how to cook squid. Peter teaches me about Korean food. So, yeah, I've learned so much, but I say I became a real chef probably like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, there's line cook, but like, I don't get the title of chef in a lot of ways either, because like, sometimes, like, I think a lot of chefs, even around here, like, they get more street credit and more respect, but they're just chefs, and I think chef gets treated as if like they own a business, but they don't. And like, that's like something so completely different.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes people are a little bit lost on like what it is to be a chef. I think it's really special, right? I know that I just said it in a different way, but I'm not that. So like, totally, chef owner is, I would rather be identified as that. And I think most chef owners would, because it's so easy to be a chef. Like, in my opinion, if I was just a chef, I would fucking kick ass. I would be making so much more money, and I would only be working 40 hours a week, maybe 45. Like, easily, because I would be so good at it.
Well, you get to just like show up and be the artist.
Yeah, well, no, I don't think chefs don't. No, I think chefs work hard, but like, I think there's just a confusion sometimes. I think when people think chef, they think it has this load of responsibilities that just they don't have. And
Yeah.
So, chef owner, I think, is a totally different category. And I think if you're judging a chef, you should judge a chef on just being a chef. But don't judge a chef owner the way you would judge a chef, because in some ways, of course that chef is gonna be have more time for you. Of course that chef can teach you more.
Yeah.
But like, if you want to learn how to run a business and be a chef, work for me or work for Peter, or, I mean not Naomi, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
for
used to
sure.
be
You
able
get,
to.
you get a different experience out of that.
Yeah, and I don't like. I think sometimes I don't like being lumped into that category because I think it's two things with two completely different sets of responsibilities. Totally zero risk involved in the one, right? Like what if you're a chef for somebody? What risk are you taking? None. And I think they get awarded the risk when it's like, but you're not. What's the risk?
Yeah.
There is no risk. You're going to work and you're getting paid. I can go to work and maybe get paid.
Yeah.
So that so I would almost say that I've never experienced what it's like. I don't think I've ever experienced what it's like to just be a chef. So I would argue that I don't even know.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely a chef. Like, that was easy. That's my point. Like, that took me to be like a chef.
Yeah, you put your hours in.
It took no time at all. That was the easiest part of this whole fucking job. Okay, so you got to learn what temperature pork, beef, fish, turkey, what temperature the fridge is supposed to go to, what you're supposed to order. Like, that's what a chef's job is.
Yeah. That's like where your athlete mind kicks into, where you're just like, all right, well, if I learn the fundamentals of this,
Yeah.
and then hit the consistency, put my reps in,
Yeah.
get my free throws in.
And oddly enough, I was gifted with an exceptional palate, and I don't know how it's still so good. But you don't learn that in chef school. Like, yeah, they'll teach you flavor profiles, but
Yeah.
like, you either have a really good palate or you don't. Like, you can go to SOM school and learn about what each thing is. But like, the other day I was with Whitney Burnside. She's a award-winning brewer in Portland, and she's badass, and she's a she, and she makes really good fucking beer. But I'm drinking this shitty-ass Narragansett, and all she has to do is smell it, and she was like, apple, green apple. And I didn't know that when I was pounding it because I wasn't even thinking about it.
Yeah.
Well, she smelled it, so easy to taste. A lot of people couldn't even taste that. It's wild.
Yeah. She's just dialed that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think you can teach somebody smell. That has to be a gift of hers.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think everybody could, bite into a tuna sandwich and know whether it's chunk light or solid white albacore or, maybe some of that tray fin poached tuna.
Did you have, do you think before we get into tuna, because I did have some questions to ask, do you think I could go pee?
Yeah. I think that you could go pee. I could go pee. Definitely.
Okay. Is that cool?
And then we'll wrap this thing up.
All right. But we have to talk about tuna before we do.
All right.
What, how's the tuna journey? You were just in Mexico.
Tuna journey's great. What a fun thing. What a stupid fun thing I got myself involved in,
Yeah, I think it's pretty sweet. Did you get any good peche down there?
I found there was actually in Sayulita, Mexico, where I was staying, there's this place called Rubens, and it was like a pretty, I would say, like traditional sandwich shop, and they had a tuna there.
How was it?
It's fine.
Did you like it or what?
It was on good toasted bread. I didn't love the tuna mixture. It had like roasted. It had. I hate like sweet relish in
It doesn't
tuna.
sound like you liked it.
I thought it was a fine sandwich. It was fine. I would never order it again for myself.
Okay.
I think if you like sweet tuna, it's fine. But I don't like sweet relish. And it also had red and yellow bell peppers, so it was even sweeter.
Yeah.
You know? So it was just kind of a miss for me. It wasn't like the greatest tuna sandwich. It didn't like blow my mind. Like, man, I remember like, I think I said it like in the video when I first had the Sammich tuna. Like, you open that like unwrap that sandwich or get it, like you can smell the tuna.
Yeah, I know.
You know? Like
Because it's
in
so
a
fresh.
good way. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, just banging.
So
But-
what's the next best? I'm not saying mine's the best, but what's your
Like, what's up there?
Yeah.
What's the heavyweight contenders?
yeah, or what's your favorite?
I would say
Tell me the number
like
one. Don't lie.
amongst yours.
No,
I
you
don't know that there is.
you can
it's hard
say
to
that
say
somebody else's is
It's hard
better.
to say that like
I'm a big
that
girl.
there is like better for me. I think that there is like just an upper echelon where like, you know, there's a tier that Sammich exists on, and like on that tier, like I just had the lardo one for the first time. I thought that was like pretty banging.
Yeah, Grandma likes that one
I didn't
too.
know that I was going to enjoy it so much, especially, I don't know. I don't always love a tuna melt. Theirs is killer.
Have you? Not to interrupt, but have you had our tuna melt?
Oh yeah, yeah. Yours is one of the ones that
Okay.
has like changed my mind about
All
tuna
right.
melts. That like I can enjoy tuna melts and maybe even think about getting them ahead of a regular tuna sandwich. The Grand Central Bakery one, always consistent.
Their BLT
Melt
is always good.
or the regular tuna salad sandwich. Those are killer. I'll eat that every day for sure. Have you been to that? Do you know about that Baker and Spice place in the Hillsdale? It's kind of like Beaverton almost.
No, what is it?
It's a bakery that also makes sandwiches.
What's it called?
Baker and Spice.
No, but
That place is cool.
But I'm gonna be over there this weekend, so maybe I'll
Yeah,
go check it out.
It was great. It's just this like light, fluffy bread that they're baking there, and yeah, it was killer. I feel like I'm spoiled by. I mean, food in general in this city. I think it's like incredible.
What's your favorite restaurant?
Yesterday, I told somebody that my favorite restaurant in Portland is Tom's Restaurant.
Oh, nice! Like the bar.
I actually love going. I don't even think the food is that great, but I go to Tom's at least probably once a week for breakfast. Like not on the bar side, but on the diner side. I don't know if
But
you've ever
like
been over
Tom's
there.
right on Cesar
Yeah,
Chavez.
yeah.
Okay.
Like I love that place. That's like my favorite diner.
No, I have
and,
a
like-
fancy chef friend who rocks a Tom's hat all day.
I love like just going to get some classic diner food from Tom's. Is one of my favorite spots. Guero
Oh yeah,
is up there for me. That's
it's a good tortas.
yeah. Those tortas are crazy. Those,
I like
they're
the-
so good.
They got me on the only place in Portland. I think I really like their vegetarian sandwich.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really. I think that's really funny for me because I don't even like the vegetarian sandwiches at Sammich. I mean, I like the grilled cheese, like who doesn't? But yeah, but the Gueros. I mean, people love them.
Yeah.
And I'm just like not. I'm a meat eater
Yeah.
or a fish eater, I guess.
And then I think Pie Spot is the greatest breakfast sandwich in the city.
Oh.
Yeah.
And they're such
And
nice
their pie
people.
and their pies are like they're also my favorite dessert.
And they're really good people.
They seem like it.
They're awesome.
Yeah. I'll champion Pie Spot, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love. I have pecan pie.
Yeah.
Some people say pecan. I'm from Texas. We say pecan. It's not pecan. And then their confetti cookie at
Okay.
the Pie Spot.
All right. Those like cereal cookies
Yeah.
that they make. Yeah.
The Fruity Pebbles one is where it's at, if you were wondering.
Pretty banging.
It is banging.
What is your favorite restaurants in in Portland, or like just some ones that
I hang out at
inspire?
the same spots, and I'll go out and eat new places when like my chef friends want to. But like I spend a lot of time at Hanok and Jeju.
I've never been to Peter's spot.
They're really
at
good.
Oak.
Right now it's hot pot.
Okay.
He usually switches hot pot in the winter.
Okay. I gotta go.
It's really good. But Jeju's menu just switched to a Korean steakhouse a few months ago. I'm like a sucker for cream spinach, the steaks, the mashed potatoes, the Caesar salad, and all of it obviously has a Korean spin on it. But yeah, that shit's the bomb. Red sauce pizza.
You just had a pizza named after you over there? Hell yeah.
Red Sauce is my pizza place.
I've been to Red Sauce once. I thought it was great. I went there on a Tinder date a long time ago, many moons ago. Had a little Tinder date over at Red Sauce Pizza.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shar just named pizza after me. It's a great honor. She started doing tavern pies, and we shared a mutual friend from back in the day, Ryan, who owned PDX Sliders.
Okay.
And he actually sold me the space that Sammich is in. The sweetest guy on the planet. I paid half. He carried the note for the other half. Even in the middle of COVID, at one time I said, hey, can I add this payment to the end? Sweet, sweet baby angel. Well, he suddenly died, which was the beginning of the shitty shit for me. And he had the works of a Chicago pizza place.
Okay.
And he was going to do tavern-style pizza. And it was going to be big, and it was going to be popular, and there might be a guy in town who talks a little bit of shit about me, being from Chicago. I'm not quite sure why. I don't know where I got it, how I got it, but Ryan was going to name a pizza after me.
Yeah.
Kind of as a fuck you, right?
Yeah.
Mel's from Chicago. Mel is Chicago. Here's Mel's fucking pizza.
Yeah.
Well, he's not here to accomplish that mission. Shar also knows the Ryan, but also knows the other person in question. And when she was doing her taste testing and all that, she definitely dropped some pies by. And then that's a surprise. I did not know I got an Instagram notification, and I opened it up, and there was a pizza, Melissa McMillan pizza.
Hell yeah.
And I was so excited, and she even did the big M, little C, big M.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, so I feel like I said in my Instagram story, Sammich ain't got nothing on me, because now I have a pizza named after me.
What's on your pizza?
Spicy Italian sausage and giardiniera.
Okay. Classic.
Pretty Melissa.
Is Chicago style pizza to you tavern style pizza
Both.
and deep dish?
Oh yeah.
Okay. You feel like you have an equal love, and they like.
Yeah, I have a dog named Deep Dish.
Because there's like so many people, right, that like only know about the deep dish. Like that's like.
No, we all know about thin crust and deep dish.
But like outside of the city of Chicago.
Yeah.
Like when people say
Chicago
pizza, I think some people are shocked to find out that are outsiders to that area that like this tavern style exists, and not everybody is eating
You're
these
correct.
crazy deep dish pizzas.
You're correct.
I like them both.
I like them both too. But yes, you are right. When you're like, oh, do you like New York style pizza or Chicago pizza? Like, they're gonna say New York style is thin crust and Chicago's deep dish. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Why is there a tuna sandwich on the menu at Sammich? I feel like that's like there's not always a tuna sandwich on sandwich menus.
No, but two reasons. One, I used to go to this place in Chicago called it was in Lake Forest, the fancy town I was telling you about. Hole in the wall joint, called the Lantern that had tuna melts and pizza puffs, and of course all this other stuff. But when I would go there, I always got a tuna melt. So that's part of the reason. And the other part of the reason was when we were opening it, my big brother said, you need something more high end on the menu. And it ended up actually really having its own way, because not only was it a higher end item, which costs more, but it also like fit that niche of not red meat, pescatarians. It's also like all the people's conception is people's conception, right? All the food that's made there, it's all really high end, nice.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of bullshit in it. So like really at the end of the day, it's all just as healthy.
Minus
like the Timbo with all the mayo or something, but like it's all like the roast beef. Like, I mean, I just got my whole panel done. I've been eating Sammich for 13 years.
Yeah.
I am healthy as a horse. I'm not a few lbs overweight because of Sammich. I like beer.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I watched a filleted tuna be delivered. Like, you're not pulling shit out of a can.
Yeah,
you know?
and like, so yeah, it was on the menu for a higher end, nicer item, but then also we made it so good that it just became so popular.
Yeah.
I mean, you really can't get a tuna sandwich like that.
Yeah, it's very.
I mean, even
level.
out of all the sandwiches you really like.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that's like poaching tuna.
Yeah, it's the only one that doesn't come out of a can.
Yeah, and there's like plenty of like canned tunas that I have found that are like
they're
consistent. Like the
super
Sacred
nice.
Sea shit is great.
Yeah,
and like tons of other ones.
Well, we're lucky too. Like, I'm pretty sure Rick's is from the Oregon coast. Like, so.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get really nice shit.
Yeah.
Different ways.
Well, I was very hyped when you I just love the environment that you create and like your willingness to like just like reach out to people. Like even when you were talking about just like DMing Morgan Weaver, or like just always seeing you like at sports events, or like I know you like host some of the Portland Pickles when they're playing, like, and let them live with you.
Crib. Yeah,
which I think is like amazing, but to as simple as like when I posted my sandwich video, you were immediately just like, yeah, you want to see how this shit is made? And I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, you don't know me, like you just like invite me to come, check out the shop or whatever. And yeah,
because that I thought you were cool and I liked your video, so I was like, oh, well, this guy must be cool. But like, I message Deion Sanders all the time. He doesn't message me back. I message Taylor Swift all the time. I have no idea why she hasn't messaged me back. I message Michelle Obama a lot. She doesn't message me back.
No, she's not getting back to you.
I don't understand. Mark Cuban, I definitely try and message him a lot too. And none of these people write me back. I don't understand. Matthew McConaughey, I thought, wrote me back, but I don't think it was actually him.
We should make his tuna recipe together.
Yeah, did you send me that, or did
I don't know. It was circulating pretty heavy, like when he started talking about it.
All right.
There's some wild shit in there. This dude started like putting corn in there, and I was like,
know.
what the fuck? But got to give it a shot.
Yeah, we could try and.
It would be fun to make a viral like tuna sandwich together.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Well, Mel, you're an inspiration.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, like I don't know. I was telling somebody recently. I was just like, after we had like the premiere party at Sammich, that was like one of my favorite nights of the year last year. Like I had so much fun, and I was just like, I just want to like figure out how to hang out with Mel more. Like she was just like cool, and I just feel like you're, like I said, you're an inspiration, and I just appreciate the people that you like try to surround yourself with. It just seems like you're
Well, thanks.
with cool people and like making cool shit, and you're like expanding your restaurant into this cool environment where now people can come hang out in your space a little bit more than they could before. And
Yeah, and all while like crazy fucked up shit's happening.
crazy fucked up shit's happening in the kitchen and in your life.
Yeah. They say you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with, and that's something that I take seriously and I really treasure. And I don't always hang out with the same 5 people, but I have like a core. And when I bring somebody in or want to be around somebody like you, it's because you resonate that philosophy. So I feel the same way.
Yeah, it's good. That's a good thing to maintain. I'll have to think about that more of like.
Yeah, you're going to start dumping a couple of your friends, getting a couple new ones. Like, oh shit, Johnny is still drinking all night and sleeping till 3, and I'm wondering why we don't have the most exciting relationship. And then Johnny's going to watch this and fucking call me and be like, yo, I'm be like, dude, just get to bed earlier.
Just get to bed earlier.
You're good. You'll be back in the loop, bro.
So true, though. You know, having those people around you that, like, when you're done hanging out with them, that make you, like, feel so good.
Yeah.
You know, or inspired.
Yeah.
To, like, go do shit. Or, yeah. So.
Well, I look forward to convincing you to help me with my podcast.
I mean, I'm convinced. You don't have to convince me any further. I mean, if you don't start a podcast, I'm gonna just make you be like a regular guest here, because there's definitely like a lot more. I feel like we could talk for another 2 hours easily about other shit and tons of stuff I didn't get into with you. But thanks for jumping on the mics with me today.
Hell yeah! Thanks for having me.
I'll put all the links in the episode notes so people can keep up with you and Sammich. They can go over to Red Sauce and get your famous
Melissa McMillan
pizza.
That's right.
The Chef Mel special.
Hey, I got smoked prime rib at the shop today.
Well, that's great because, you know, I was thinking it's Friday. It's beautiful out.
Beast.
I feel like maybe this is like the type of day where I have to go to Sammich after this. There's like no other place I could go for food after hanging here with you than your fine establishment.
Sounds good.
Mel, we end every episode of the podcast with the guest saying the tagline for the show, which is "It's a program." It means nothing. It's just that my grandfather always says the word program.
Oh yeah. So our me and Missy, our Aunt Carol, she when we used to work for her at a restaurant in Ashland called Cucina Biazzi, and she'd say, "Okay, girls, I'm gonna go home and watch my programs."
Yeah. Absolutely.
So how do I?
If you can just say it's a program, however you would like to. It's the one time I will ask you to look into this camera here, and we can get the Chef Mel. It's a program.
It's a program.
She nailed it, everybody. That's Mel. All the links in the episode notes, and that's the Jelly Jams, and we will catch you on the flip side, Portland, or wherever you are listening or watching from.
Peace out.
We did it.
My dudes.
We did it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That was cool. So how do we...